Welcome to the Get Trauma Informed podcast, dedicated to unraveling the complexities of trauma, its pervasive impact, and the journey towards holistic recovery and realignment. If your radiance has ever felt muted, like I and thousands of others, you're in the right place to reignite your inner light. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast. There's a kind of relationship that feels like love in the beginning. It feels like passion. It feels like connection. It feels like purpose. But as time goes on, you realize something painful. You are loving someone who never left their own prison. You are loving someone who cannot love you back in a healthy way. You are loving someone while losing yourself. Welcome back to the Get Trauma Informed podcast. I'm your host, peer-to-peer wellness coach Liz Blanding. Today, I want to take us deeper into the emotional impact of loving someone whose trauma becomes your burden, your responsibility, and eventually your prison. This episode is about secondary trauma, emotional exhaustion, and the healing that comes when you choose yourself again. There was a season in my life when I found myself drawn to men with deep emotional wounds. Some of them carried the emotional scars of incarceration. They carried trauma that they never processed. They carried fear they never acknowledged. They carried pain they never confronted. And at first, I saw strength. I saw depth. I saw potential. I saw the wounded child inside of them, and believed that my love could help them heal. I believed that if I gave enough, supported enough, prayed enough, and carried enough, they would finally feel safe enough to change. But what I did not understand at that time was this. When someone carries unprocessed trauma, especially trauma from environments like incarceration, the trauma comes home with them. It enters the relationship, it shapes the communication, it disrupts the emotional peace, it creates moments that feel like confusion, fear, and emotional instability. I experienced moments where they would shut down emotionally, moments where fear and anger lived below the surface, moments where nightmares and night terrors filled the room, moments where emotional numbness replaced connection, moments where I felt responsible for their healing. And the more I tried to help, the more I lost myself. I became the comforter, the caretaker, the emotional stabilizer, the rescuer, the one they leaned on for everything. The relationship became uneven. It became draining. It became heavy. And I didn't know how to lay the weight down because I believed love meant sacrifice, even when sacrifice was sacrificing my own peace. Loving someone with unprocessed trauma can create secondary trauma. This happens when their emotional instability becomes your emotional burden. Here is what secondary trauma can look like. You absorb their fear. You absorb their triggers. You walk on eggshells. You try to predict their moods. You sacrifice your boundaries. You carry their emotional load. You lose sight of your own needs. When someone carries unresolved trauma, especially trauma from incarceration, violence, abandonment, or childhood abuse, they may struggle with emotional numbness, hypervigilance, outbursts, withdrawal, fear of intimacy, difficulty trusting, difficulty communicating, inability to self-regulate. These patterns do not make them bad people, but they do make the relationship unsafe for someone who is unhealed. This is how you become the rescuer. This is how emotional burnout forms. This is how you begin to lose yourself in someone else's pain. As the trauma-informed girl, I have learned something that changed my life. It is not your job to heal the pain of someone who refuses to face their pain. It is not your role to carry a burden they will not acknowledge. It is not your assignment to rescue someone from trauma while your own heart is empty. Loving someone does not mean sacrificing your emotional well-being. Loving someone does not mean tolerating instability. Loving someone does not mean becoming their therapist, their healer, or their rescuer. True love is mutual. True love is safe. True love is steady. True love is peaceful. Recovery taught me that it is possible to love someone and still choose yourself. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to step back and allow them to face the work they must do on their own. So here's a recovery tool. It's a level 2 tool, trauma brain versus recovered brain relationship filter. This tool helps you to see relationships with clarity instead of confusion. So I want you to ask yourself these questions. Number 1, does this relationship bring me peace or anxiety? Your body knows the truth before your mind does. Number 2, am I constantly rescuing, fixing, or emotionally stabilizing this person? If yes, you are in the trauma brain loop. Number 3, does this relationship help me grow or does it drain me? Number 4, do I lose myself trying to keep the relationship afloat? Number 5, does this person take accountability for their healing? If the answer is no, you cannot carry them into recovery. This filter breaks trauma bonds. It brings clarity. It helps you make decisions from your healed identity instead of your wounded identity. Our spiritual reflection in Scripture tells us that God heals the brokenhearted. It does not say we must heal the brokenhearted. That's God's assignment alone. Our calling is not to save people. Our calling is to love with wisdom, discernment, and boundaries. Ooh, how did that land with you? Our calling is to love with wisdom, discernment, and boundaries. Sometimes that means loving people from a distance. Sometimes that means releasing people to the work that only God can do in them. Sometimes this means stepping into the peace God has prepared for us, even when it means stepping away from familiarity. So, if you have ever found yourself losing your identity inside of someone else's trauma, level 2 trauma recovery, one breath at a time, is your next step. It is designed to help you break trauma bonds, rebuild boundaries, stop rescuing, recognize unhealthy patterns, strengthen emotional regularity or regulation, and choose relationships that reflect your worth. Ooh, again, bears to repeat. So you can choose relationships that reflect your worth. You do not have to carry the emotional weight of others. Level 2 will help you return to yourself. We are recovering one breath at a time. Give yourself grace and stay fearless. Bye for now. It's time to buckle up. No more suffering in silence. Our Power Pack journey to recovery and realignment starts now. Remember, you are collateral damage on someone else's warpath. Trauma is not your fault. Recovery, however, is your responsibility. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast.